Yesterday's first part ended with Ark completing the mission and obtaining a license from Guild. And the story will be even more interesting because from now on the journey will be more exciting, considering Arian will be helping her in the same mission. This second part begins having two elven ladies by the names of Sina and Una restrained on his bed. Triton prepared to have his way with them, but first chastises his son, Udalan, for his recent failure. Elsewhere, Ark and Arian manage to successfully land on Triton's mansion and catch the attention of a couple of guards. Using his wyvern slash, Ark slices the bell there that allowed distraction, allowing them to infiltrate the place. At that moment, Celsica informs Triton about the intruders in the mansion, and when he claims that the invaders are monsters, the door behind him explodes. After the smoke starts to fade and settle, from the newly created hole in the wall stands Ark and Arian, who claim they'll rescue the restrained elves. Arian then incapacitates Triton, while Ark scares the daylights out of Udalan and in the process finds a hidden room. Ark was going to inform Arian of this find, but she and the other elves were far too busy punishing Triton, which irks both Ark and Ponta. Just then the guards of the mansion arrive and Arian uses a fire spell on her sword to attack the guards and asks that the elves meet with Denka. The two elves then leave and Arian goes to check up on Ark, who loots the gold from the hidden room. Caught in the middle of the act, Ark claims that he's prohibiting the Dinto family from rebuilding in the future and Arian buys it. Several bombs are detonated across the mansion, and because of this, Ark and Arian teleport to a safe location. Although the pay that Arian had in store for him was inadequate, she offers Ark to accompany her to the elven lands where more elves are being held captive. The proposal internally elates Ark. However, he questions whether someone like him will be well welcomed in the lands, and Arian admits that she'd have to talk with the elders. In response to that, Ark claims he can never take off his armor and Arian asks why, to which Ark asks if she'd turn her sword on him if she saw his face, and she promises that she wouldn't. Hence, Ark takes off his helmet and shows Arian his true visage and a brief explanation of his past, claiming that he's suffering from a curse that has his appearance transformed. Deducing that he's not of the undead and placing her trust in him for helping her out so far, Arian claims he'll be welcomed in the land of elves. Furthermore, the elder may be able to help him change back into his original form. To that, the two formally introduce themselves and shake on their newly formed relationship. In Olaf, the capital of the Rodan Kingdom, King Karlon holds a meeting with his children, Princes Sect and Dakars, and Princess Uriarna about the recent events surrounding Triton. Sect mentions that Triton was illegally selling elves to the eastern country, which Dakars refutes, but Sect claims that Dakars is standing up for him. The comment upsets Dakars, who speaks defensively, but is stopped by King Karlon and speaks in favor of Dakars while claiming a full investigation must be had before any conclusion would be drawn. King Karlon then asks for Uriarna's opinion on the matter, and she claims that she heard the rumors being spread about the elven slaves causing the imposed treaty to be broken. That would thereby cause raised tensions with their kingdom and other nations, hence they need to ascertain the truth immediately. She also mentions the backlash from the elves themselves, and Sect mentions that the other nations would hold them responsible. Therefore, King Karlon assigns Uriarna to visit Limbolt and negotiation any tensions that have arisen there and concludes the meeting. Alone in the room, Karlon thinks about how the situation has become a big mess. Ark and the party walk through a dense forest, and Ark decides to use Dimension Move to scout ahead and ends up falling down a small cliff that was by a small running stream. They decide to make camp there, and that night, Danka has a whisper bird deliver a message to Arian informing her the elves they rescued are in his care. Ark then asks how far is it until they reach their destination of Lalatoya, and Arian answers that they should reach there within 2 nights. Because Arian was still hungry, Ark leaves to hunt a boar, leaving Arian to spend time along with Ponta. Upon returning to the camp with a freshly caught boar, Ark catches Arian cuddling with Ponta. In light of this, Ark plans to have some cuddle time with Ponta, which embarrasses Arian immensely. Sometime later in Olaf, Uriarna is served tea by her maid Ferna. As she goes to drink it, she mentions her suspicions that her brother Dakars is involved in the elf trade incident, and that Sex will go after him about it. Ferna then claims that either Sect Uriarna will get the throne, but Uriarna warns her not to speak so carelessly. To Uriarna's reasoning, what must be focused on is the matter of negotiations with the elves in Limbolt, and nothing more. Ferna understands and claims that she'll get to see her sister Siriarna again, and Uriarna takes pleasure in knowing that. Meanwhile, Ark and Arian arrive at their destination of Lalatoya. Upon arriving at Lalatoya, Arian requests that she be let passage inside and be granted an audience with the elder. The gate to the village opens, and Arian asks that Ark wait there for her until she returns. Ark remains outside the gate until dusk, until finally he's allowed inside, and follows Arian to the elder's house, where he enjoys the scenery of the village. At the elder's home, Ark and Arian are met by the elder and his wife Dylan Tog Lalatoya and Glenys Ulnau Lalatoya, both of whom are Arian's parents. Dylan formally thanks Ark for all of his achievements towards the elven village, but he does rebuke Arian for attacking Triton's manor. Ark then chimes in on the conversation and, inside their home, explains the situation in full to Dillion. Understanding the problem at hand, Dillion says that he'll inform the other elders in Maple to alert them of the trafficking contract that was uncovered. After explaining the situation, Glennies arrives with dinner, but Ark is anxious to eat due to his condition. However, it's learned that Glennies and Dillion already know of Ark's condition, and he's allowed to eat the food without fear. The following morning, Ark wakes up and learns that Arian and Dillion have already left from Glennies. Glennies then gives Ark a tour of the village and knows a bit of the village history from her. Two young girls then approach Ark, who thank him for rescuing them from the slavers. Apologizing to Glennies for his distraction, she tells Ark that it's alright and requests to spar with him. Meanwhile, Arian and Dylan listen to the elders debate on how to proceed with the humans violating the 400-year treaty about enslaving elves. The result of the discussion is settled by Elder Brian Bond Evangeline Maple, who suggests they observe the Rodin Kingdom's reaction to the attack on the Lord's Manor. Returning to Ark, he spars against Glennies, who quickly overwhelms him with her swordplay during their sparring match together. As Arian and Dylan walk out of the Elder's Coven, Arian formally apologizes to her father about the meeting outcome. Still, Dylan assures her that the result could have been better, but also worse. However, Dylan laments not being able to meet even while they were there and informs Arian that Even is getting married next year. The news perturbs Arian as her sister's nature is akin to a battle maniac. Even appears out of nowhere and tackles Hugs to the ground. Despite seeing his daughter in evident distress by her sister's antics, Dylan leaves the two, and they soon talk about Arian's recent accomplishment and Even's upcoming marriage. Back to Ark again. He finishes his spar training with Glennies and later enjoys a soothing bath with Ponta. Eventually, Arian arrives home and readies herself to take a bath, only to find Ark already in there, and acts apprehensively. Afterward, before their dinner, Dylan briefs Ark on the current situation decided by the elders. He also hires Ark to hunt down the names on the contract while also freeing any elves he encounters. Admitting that the pay he'd receive for the job would be inadequate, Dylan bargains with Ark and offers him information on how to break his curse to make up for his reward. Dylan then informs Ark of a magical spring near Lord Crown that can remove curses. However, it's also a place where the Dragon Lord makes its home, and to add to that danger are the spirit animals who also inhabit the area. Because of the risks it imposes on a human, an elf would have to act as a mediator to be granted access there. Ark accepts this reward, but internally notes how his curse was an RP thing. Arian then claims she'll join Ark in his quest, and Ark accepts the search. In bed, Ark ponders whether or not his skeletal avatar is a curse or not. However, if his condition was a curse, he'd be able to dispel it with one of his spells. However, spells such as those hurt the undead and could harm him. Ark casts Uncurse on himself to test this theory, and to his amazement, it works without inflicting any harm. Ark and group set out for Olav, the capital of the Rodin Kingdom, and Ark reflects on how his skeleton body is in fact due to a curse. Although he can cast an Uncurse spell on himself to cure his condition, the effects are sadly temporary. Soon the group makes it out of the forest they tracked through and reaches a small pond where giant dragonflies inhabit it. The giant dragonflies immediately attack Ark and chase him as he tries to flee from them. In a village pub, Ark admits to Arian that he's afraid of insects, and while they enjoy dinner, discuss their plans forward through the next forest. Their waitress admonishes them from cutting through the forest due to its infestation of monsters called haunted wolves. Understanding that Arian wants to go through the forest so they can rescue the elves faster, Ark and Punna both agree to follow her through the forest. The following day, at Olav, Uriarna accompanied by her attendee Ferna settle in their horse-driven carriage. It's planned to regroup with their guards midway in the nearby forest to keep up a fast pace and reach the Grand Duchy of Limbolt with all possible haste. Unbeknownst to them, they were being closely watched from the shadows by an elusive figure. Back to Ark's group, they close in on where the haunted wolves are said to be. Arian then talks about how the monster's tail fur is used to make veils, which are wonderful gifts for brides-to-be. She then says that her sister is soon to be wed, and Ark surmises that she'd like the tail fur to create a present for her sister's wedding. At that moment, they're attacked by haunted wolves, which most are illusions cast by the wolves. They both handle themselves against the haunted wolves, and soon Ark locates the leader of the pack. Confronting the pack leader, Ark sees that it has a similar ring attached to its leg that he once found on a giant basilisk. Ark manages to cut the ring off of the pack leader, which allows it to regain control of itself and call its pack members to regroup with it and leave. Soon, Arian regroups with Ark and learns from him about the rings he found on the haunted wolf and giant basilisk that attacked them in the past. After that explanation, they take a brief rest, allowing Arian to harvest a dead haunted wolf's tail fur. Meanwhile, Uriarna's carriage progresses through the forest, and Uriarna confesses her thoughts on the mission her father imposed on her. She is fully aware that her brother Dakars is the ringleader responsible for the elven slaves, and that her other brother sect would allow things to play out without getting involved. Just then the carriage starts to shake, and a couple of the guards outside shout that they're under attack. Returning to Ark's group, Arian prepares to skin the tail fur from the wolves, and Ponda hears a disturbance in the distance and heads for it. Ark follows him, and Arian stays behind to prepare the wolf's tail fur. At Uriarna's carriage, both Uriarna and Ferna are slain by one of 6 hooded assailants, and one of Uriarna's guards was an accomplice. Just then, Ponda followed by Ark arrive at the scene. As Ark examines Uriarna and Ferna, the assailants launch multiple fire beretta and rock shot at Ark. who is invulnerable to the attacks. Assessing whether or not he should cast a spell to revive both Ferna and Uriarna, Ark is shocked to see that the haunted wolves from before attacked the assailants. Ark joins the attack and they manage to take out a few of them while the rest escape from the scene. Once that was all settled, the wolves take their leave and Ark decides to cast regeneration on Uriarna, Ferna, and as many of her guards as he so can. While Ark does this, Uriarna briefly regains consciousness and thinks Ark is an angel. Awakening from her unconscious state thanks to Ferna, Uriarna learns from her that they were healed somehow and so were most of their guards. Considering their revival as an act of God, she proclaims this to the remaining guard troops of hers. Ark witnesses Uriarna give the proclamation from afar and then regroups with Arian, who had finished her personal task, and they continue forward. Finally, at Olaf, they nearly get involved in a fight between a young lady and 3 angry men who are easily dealt with by the young lady who turns out to be the ninja girl. Chiom thanks Arian and Ark for freeing the enslaved people back in Dinto, and introduces herself as a member of the Jinshin clan's 6 ninjas. They then change their location to a room in an inn, and there, Ark introduces himself and Ponta while Arian introduces herself. Changing the subject, Chiom asks Ark why he addressed her as a ninja back in Dinto, and Ark claims that ninja exists where he comes from. Surprised by this, Chiom claims that Ark may be from the exact location where the great founder, who lived 600 years ago, was from. Internally, Ark thinks that 600 years ago, another person from his world came there and started his ninja village. Arian then asks why Chiom wanted to talk with Ark, and she requests that he help her save her comrades. In light of this, Ark mentions that he's already contracted to help Arian save a bunch of elves. As Ark contemplates the situation, Arian asks Chiom if she's been rescuing people since a young age, and she confirms it. Arian relates with Chiom on that fact and decides to help her on her quest to save the enslaved beast people. In the royal castle, Prince Dakars throws a fit about the haunted wolves stopped taking orders. Another man there named Centurion speculates that the rings on the wolves may have been broken somehow, and that Uriarna is likely to be alive. This would pose a severe problem to Dakars' plans to stop the negotiations between the elves and her. Dakars then asks who the perpetrators were, and Centurion responds that they were likely elves and would have eventually arrived in Olaf. Following Centurion's advice, Dakars takes a carriage to a safe house of his. Meanwhile, Ark and the group walk through a forested area, and Chiom informs Ark that the founder of her village wasn't a beastman, but a human named Hanzo. She reveals that Hanzo was once a spy for the Revlon Empire who took it upon himself to take in underprivileged beastmen in his care and train some of them too. Reaching their destination, the largest slave market in Olaf, Etsat Market. By dusk, Chiom goes over the plan and asks that both Arian and Ark act conspicuously, and then make a quick escape when they're done. Chiom admits that she doesn't believe that everyone involved in this will be able to escape. Ark then asks if Etsat is a decoy, and Chiom confirms it by mentioning the other 4 slave markets in Olev will be targeted. Chiom hopes the sacrifices will be minimal with their help, but Ark and Arian are resolved to help to the bitter end. Confident in his teleportation magic, Ark learns from Chiom that Hanzo could use space-time ninjutsu. Elated to hear this, Chiom goes off to notify her comrades, tells Ark and Arian that the assault on the market will take place that night, and advises them to prepare themselves. Ark and Arian then return to their room at the inn and enjoy dinner. And afterward, Ark dons a new mask, and they're soon met by Chiom and her companion Gomen. Hearing Gomen's name, Ark asks Chiom if that's her real name, which she answers it's not, but rather a title given to the most skilled in their clan. Once this is revealed, Gomen gets into a scuffle with Ark, but they immediately bond after this. It's decided that Arian and Chiom will attack the front, while Ark and Gomen will attack the rear. Wasting no time, Ark and Gomen approach the back gate, and Gomen casts Stone Smasher on himself to help Ark break through the front door. Inside the place, Ark takes out several guards, and Gomen casts Arm Bracer, which transforms his body into hardened steel that breaks the weapons of those who attacked him. Ark then casts Rock Shot, which takes out more of the enemy soldiers that are there and gives off a menacing laugh, which terrifies them. Taking advantage of the situation, Gomen casts Rock Spear Strike and Ark adds to it with his Rock Fang. However, this caused a cumulative effect around the area, causing their spells to affect the entire area. On the opposite side of the fort, Chiom and Arian manage to get past the front gate and head toward the market. During the night of the attack on the Etsat market, Dakars and Cetrian's safe haven learns from the said person that the market is under attack, as well as 4 other slave markets as well. Dakars demands that reinforcements be sent to the places under attack and notes his frustration about his situation. At the Etsat market, Chiom, Arian, and Ponta infiltrate the place, and a couple of guards soon accost them. The guards are quickly dealt with by Chiom's ninjutsu, Liquid Wolf Fang. A quartet of guards is alerted, and Arian uses her fire magic to deal with them. They then reach the cells where the slaves are held, and Chiom announces herself as part of the Jinshin clan who's there to rescue them all. As Chiom opens some of the cells, more guards arrive and are swiftly dealt with by Arian. Outside in the market compound, Ark and Gomen arise from the rubble and are soon joined by Chiom's group, who informs them of the Beast People's whereabouts. Gomen decides to stay alone and defend the area if reinforcements arrive, leaving Ark and the others to return to the market and free more of the slave held captive. Once they do, Chiom finds a pile of dead bodies, and a slave informs them that slaves who were sick or injured were disposed of. Arc pulls Chiom together, and they all regroup with the slave in the hall, who are then teleported out by Arc's magic in large groups. Once that was settled, Arc returned to the market compound to assist the injured and belaboured Gomen. With Arc using his Rock Fang and Gomen using his Rock Spear Strike, they managed to decimate the reinforcements without a hassle. After this, the two reconvene with Arian and Chiom and bring along the deceased slaves' bodies. Once the bodies are properly and respectively laid out on the ground, Arian cremates them, and as Chiom watches this, she vows to become stronger.